say when. Okay, welcome everybody. I don't think this is a real thing. I think we're testing right now.
No, this is the real thing. We're just chatting for a little bit.
Oh, okay. But in other words, I'm being listened to.
Yes.
Guys, the most important painting I've ever done is this, because it has everybody in it. I always
Grandma,
think...
I would wait till 7 to get into the juicy stuff. Just chat.
You're right,
now,
you're
because
right.
Then everyone will come on.
Okay.
But for
I will wait till 7. And Jesse's going to make signals so that I know when it's 7. Guys, it's going to work. Yesterday at this time, it's as if the universe intruded and said, nope, it's too technical, it's not going to work. And it worked tonight. And I don't understand it. But when I say we're all amateurs, these 3 guys are not. I am.
And Grandma, we'll tell you when to really dive in.
Okay. So I shouldn't say anything really important yet. I have 3 things I want to talk about today. And one of them is very important. But it's not going to be the beginning. The beginning is going to be this painting because I can't wait to talk about it. It is the opposite of the subway painting where nobody speaks to each other. It is where everybody congregates.
But Mom, we haven't started yet.
Yeah,
We'll let you know when it's 7.
yeah.
You can talk about anything, but just wait till you really dive in.
I'll talk about the world. It's amazing that I can sit here with a painting that I did in the year 2000. It took me 5 years to do it because I did paintings, other paintings in between. Tell me when I begin.
We'll let you know when, Grandma.
Okay.
You can just chat.
Okay. I'm remembering everybody.
Talk about what happened yesterday.
Yesterday was chaos, but I had a wonderful time because I had the whole family there, and Hernan and Christopher, and we ate a lot.
Just tell her when it's time to start.
And you tell me when it's time to start.
You have 1 minute.
In that 1 minute, I'll remember this which doesn't exist anymore. Wow. I haven't seen it by being close to it for, I guess, 20 years, because I did it, I think, in the year 2000.
All right, it's 7 o'clock.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Now I'm allowed to talk.
Yes.
Everything that I planned is changed because of yesterday not being able to do it. I never dreamed that my family could take this and carry it here. Okay. There are 3 things that I'm going to be talking about. Why don't I begin with this? Let's change everything. Let's begin with this, and then I'll talk about the other things. Okay. A long time ago, the homeless overtook Penn Station. They slept on the benches. They slept all over because the economy made them made them disappear. The beautiful old homes had become tenements, and they were torn down, and beautiful new buildings were put up, which were unaffordable. So let me begin right now. And a friend said, Hedy, you've got to talk about this, because either we're going to find out how people do not have to become poor because they get old. There must be a better way. Or the other way will be we'll begin to hide them so that we won't know they exist. Hedy, you've got to do a painting. You have enough homeless people in the sketchbooks. Use them and begin. And I did. As a matter of fact, there was a gallery in the 5 towns in Long Island. The Uffners owned the Loring Gallery, and they were my leaders in this. And so I began. I began with a sketch of this woman. This woman was sitting with 2 bags next to her, and in one of them she seemed to have dishes, and in the other one rags. And she picked up a dish from one of them and picked up the rag and began to polish and clean. And then she put it into the clean bag. And she began to do that. And a young woman sat down next to me, because I sat across from her. People don't see me. I dress so that nobody recognizes me. I wear a dark jacket, and I cover my hair because it was gray, which meant I was visible. So I sat across, and this woman who sat next to me said, I see what you're doing. Do you know what you're doing? And I said, no, tell me. And she said, she's housekeeping. She must have lived in a tenement, maybe on the 4th floor, because those were not tall buildings. And they tore the building down, and they began to build high-rises, expensive apartments. And she could never afford another home. So she packed her bags, and she went into the streets. And she's housekeeping. I had not known that. So I began to notice this was a common thing. Many would carry a bag and pull out a dress and another bag and pull out a needle and thread and begin to sew. Housekeeping. This painting, unlike the subway painting, is where we're all still together. This man was standing next to a pillar, and she was leaning against it. The pillars are back there, but I wanted them seen. So you're going to have to imagine that there was a pillar there. And this woman was leaning against it, and this man was standing in front of her, and with his fist he was hitting the pillar. It made a terrifying noise, and she was flinching and leaning back, and his hand was hammering the pillar. And a policeman walked by, and he said, "Move it, guys, move it," but did not offer to help. Who knows what happened when they got home? I wanted to show regular people who use the subways and the newspapers, read the newspapers. Let's see, I'll do the newspaper later. This woman I saw at a construction site, and somebody must have left some food and she grabbed the container and wolfed it down. And there was coffee also. Somebody afterwards said to me, "Do you know why she was eating so quickly? Because if anybody else who was hungry would see it, they would grab it from her." I need to explain that in this wealthy country of ours, people are hungry. So I gave her a special spot. My daughter had a close friend. They went to college together. She married a white man, which at that time caused great problems. Remember, I finished this painting in the year 2000, and it took me 5 years. In those days, you did not see intermarriage. Now, thank goodness, even advertisements in the subway and on television show a mixed marriage of color. And I needed to prove that we existed, that this exists, because shortly before that, you would get arrested if you did this kind of marriage. And now we can have same-sex marriages, which didn't exist at that time at all. So this painting represents not only what the subway painting presents of segregation, but it presents our overcoming the crimes of which we are capable of. I always begin with somebody handicapped. And when I was doing the book which Harvey published, this wonderful book, when I was doing this painting, one of the children said to me, this drawing, book of drawings, "How come you never see us in pictures? How come you never see us anywhere? Not on television, not anywhere. We exist." And that made me realize that this was a must. So I put somebody pushing a child with a wheelchair here. This painting has every one of us. It has Muslims. It has, I don't remember where the person with the yarmulke is, but we are, every one of us is in this painting. Can you see the people? Because there's a glare on the oil and I can't see all of them, but they're here. And it's going to be on the Facebook page.
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook page, so you can see. And if you have questions, ask them. I don't answer anybody on Facebook, but if you print it, then I can speak about it next week. But I do want to speak of what gave me the biggest hope of all. There is not a single real person in here, except for Seymour Durst. Seymour Durst is the man with the brown suit and the tie and the white hair. And he's buying a newspaper. The newspaper which he's buying is a street news. It was the only way in which a homeless person could earn a living. And Seymour, and he told me at that time that his mother used to write for them also. His mother would publish articles in the New York Times about the homeless. Seymour, I put in as the only real person because he did something about homelessness. And he is another person who said to me, you've got to paint the homeless. And I put him in because he's somebody who realized that something needed to be done and did it. If anybody has any questions.
Mom, could I say something? Mom?
Yes.
Also, if you want to talk about what's on top of that sheet about resemblances and David Kellman's picture, all those things?
That'll be the second thing. When we're done with this painting, I definitely will.
Sure.
Okay?
Sorry.
Okay. This goes back to the most important thing that I learned through Facebook. I spoke about it last week, that my friend Linda and I were doing an experiment. I was going to draw who she was. And I found out I couldn't, because we talked so much and laughed so much and yet spoke of things, because we're serious people as well. And it's finished now, but I found out that it is people with whom we are who shape our resemblance. When we laughed, she looked different. When we talked about serious things, she had a different face. And I learned from her, because she gave me freedom to do anything that I saw. And because of this freedom, I found out I cannot do a resemblance. I would have to do thousands of one person. So she said, why don't you just do it the way you see me? Okay? And suddenly I felt so free, because she gave me permission for that. Because there's no way I could do a resemblance without doing 10,000. And so what I did, I spoke to my nephew, David, whom I have loved since he was a tiny kid. And I sat down. He came to me all the way from New Jersey. And he sat down, and I felt so free because of what I learned in doing Linda, that there is no single portrait of any of us. And I just thought of how much I loved him, and that he wasn't going to judge what I did. And I didn't have any judgment. And I sat down, and my daughter Joni was sitting here, and David and his daughter Raina were sitting 6 foot away. And I just drew. And I felt so free. I just drew this kid I loved. And Joni said, Mom, you never got a resemblance that quickly. And I said, I know. And David thought it looked just like him, and so did his daughter Raina. And I suddenly realized, if I'm in the right zone, if I'm not trying to please anybody, if I'm not trying to get a resemblance, it'll appear. And can we show David's drawing?
It's on the Facebook page.
It's on Facebook, okay. And it changed me because my grandchild, Jessie, has something which I've always admired but didn't know how to find it in my own work. When he does a color or perspective, he goes into a different zone. In other words, he just does it. And it's perfect. I don't know about portraits. I haven't seen him do portraits. I've seen the results when he shows me a finished one. And they're awesome. But I learned from him that if you are afraid, nothing works. And I began to think, what else am I afraid of? I'm afraid of falling. Because when I fell in June of 2018, I broke my shoulder and I broke my right hip also. And I walk timidly because of it. And I have a friend who is tall and has beautiful long legs. Johanna Matheson. And she strides. And I thought, I have to learn to stride. Jesse doesn't stride, he runs, he floats, but he's young. And today I went for a walk, and I gave myself an hour of walking. But my friend Linda spoke to me today, and she said, be aware. And she explained the doctor, because she's a doctor, and she explained what my body needs and doesn't need. So today I took my walker, and I didn't walk timidly. I walked straight. I don't have my walker, so I can't show you, but I put my legs, and I thought of Johanna, and I moved my legs straight. And the moment I got tired, I sat down on my walker, because Linda was teaching me today that you have to honor your body. And I realized I have done so many drawings that I earned the right to feel that I can do it. So that's the second lesson. Now I have to talk of the most important thing that I wanted to speak about. I have enough time, and I need you to really listen. I am an immigrant. I came to America as an immigrant fleeing Hitler. Tammy, you asked me, how do immigrants adjust? And the only thing I could come up with was cleaning. Remember I told you I cleaned? I remember cleaning. We lived in a slum because refugees don't live in good places. The first thing my parents did was to clean. They scrubbed the floors. They scrubbed the walls. The moment the windows were clean, they hung curtains. Why do immigrants do that? They need to remember that they once had a home. And we are now, all of us, in a position of immigrants. The world we knew is gone. I have friends here in Long Beach. There was a senior citizen place where we learned exercise and dance and art. It's all gone. There's no money anymore. These people who did so much and are skilled and trained in professions, the professions have gone. Make believe that you're immigrants and begin again. We need to form a new world. The old one is gone. If you're wealthy, there'll be a world. But if you are somebody who went to college and learned and got a degree and had jobs, they're gone. I don't know if they'll ever come back again. We have to invent a new world. When I began these Facebook things, I spoke to 3 people whom I admired so much. One of them was Dr. Joe, who has a television program. Or no, I guess a radio program. No,
TV show.
I guess a Facebook problem. I don't know. Program. And the way he thinks, he would have answers. The second person I spoke to was the man who changed the world for people with disabilities. Right? You know who that is. He's the one I speak about all the time. And the third one is David Rothenberg, who formed and created the Fortune Society. I'm going to ask them how to create a world. Harvey Wiesenberg is the one who created a world for people whom nobody acknowledged. David Rothenberg is the one who created a world for people who thought their only world was prison. And Dr. Joe, when I was on your Facebook program, I realized you asked questions that needed answers. I would like to ask all of you to change the world, to create a new one. Be like an immigrant, because you are. The world which lost your jobs is gone. The money is going to corporations. The money is going to big groups, but it ignores the individuals. Which is why this painting is a picture that you have to deal with. We are all homeless in this new world. We have to create a new one. The old one is gone. I'm asking you, each of you individuals who's listening to me today, the dinosaurs are gone. The ice age is gone. COVID is here. And with it went enough money for the wealthy, but none for us. Invent a new world. Make believe you're an immigrant. who created America. Because America was created by people who fled here and found no help. Okay, I'd like to say I love all of you.
So you have some questions.
Yes.
So Michelle asked, I'm afraid of what is to come. How can we prepare emotionally and financially?
Invent a new world. Make believe you are an immigrant who came to America when America didn't want you. Read the book, The Henry Street Settlement, because that to me is the answer. This Lillian Wald created a new world. Do that. Not for you, for us.
So Laura Silver asked, where did you sit to paint the Amtrak painting?
I sat all over. I sat when there were still benches. And then when there were no benches anymore, I went into the waiting room. But mostly these people, the building is what it was. All the benches are gone. But most of these people are from construction sites. This is a Vietnam veteran. When they came here, there was nothing for them. They were scorned. Remember, they created a new world. Maybe by dying. Don't do that.
Ask if they have any more questions.
Are there any more questions?
We have 2 minutes left. So talk
I have
about
2 minutes left.
I have a question. Could you talk about how you put homeless people into every painting?
Oh, yes, yes. I put a homeless person into every painting. Every commission has a homeless person in it. Because we must learn that they exist. And at the moment, you are homeless. Because the world you knew is gone. Give me a new world. Give me one which is without prejudice. Because you're going to need them. Because the world that hired you is gone.
So one final question. What do you think about when viewing your paintings?
This painting,
Any of them?
any of the paintings, I feel that I've always felt that before you get to understand something, you have to go into a room and you can't leave until you understand it. And when I sign any painting, it's when I'm ready to leave that room. When the painting has done everything I needed. Thank you all. I love you.
Yay, Hedy.